welcome to the deep dive. Our mission is pretty straightforward. You give us the sources, and we pull up the key knowledge, connect the dots, so you leave feeling genuinely informed.
And today we're looking at just one day, September 20th, 2025, but it's a packed one.
Yeah. What are we working with?
We've got excerpts here from Tarot by High C, specifically their astrology of the day. And honestly, this day feels like a cosmic pressure cooker.
Okay.
It kicks off with this real push for radical freedom, shakes things up personally, then pivots hard into needing careful, practical devotion. And it doesn't stop there. It ends with a major reality check about structure and authority.
Wow. Okay, so you're saying it's like wanting to tear down the walls in the morning, but needing to, I don't know, alphabetize your spice rack perfectly by the afternoon.
That's a pretty good way to put it, actually. That tension is exactly what we need to unpack. How does the morning chaos actually set up the evening confrontation? It forces a whole redefinition of value, really, both personally and structurally.
Okay, let's dive in. Where does the day start? You mentioned volatility.
Right. The sources point to the morning being defined by these sudden, pretty intense disruptions. We're talking relationships, values, maybe even money. It's not gentle.
And what's driving that?
It's a specific astrological aspect. Venus square Uranus RX. That's the engine here.
Okay, break that down a bit. Venus is?
Venus is what we love, right? What we value. Relationships, beauty, money, pleasure, all that stuff.
Got it. And Uranus?
Uranus is the wild card, the planet of sudden change, rebellion, breakthroughs, independence. Think lightning bolts, not slow burns.
And a square. That's not harmonious, is it?
Not at all. A square means friction, tension. It forces these two planetary energies into a confrontation. Something has to give, and action is demanded. It's inherently unstable.
So Venus, our values, our love, is in direct conflict with Uranus, the drive for sudden freedom and change.
Exactly. And the RX, the retrograde part, is key here too. It means this energy is often felt more internally first. It's not just reacting to external shocks. It's an internal pressure building up, a need for authenticity that maybe you've ignored. Suddenly, you can't ignore it anymore.
So the source mentions things like sudden attractions or even breakups.
Yeah, or maybe just a powerful urge to rebel against, conventional ideas about relationships or even beauty standards, anything that feels restrictive.
But you also mentioned value and money. How does this personal shakeup ripple outwards?
Because Venus isn't just personal love. It also rules finances, assets, even things like service industries. So when Venus gets jolted by Uranus, you see echoes in the larger world.
Like what?
The source specifically mentions potential turbulence in financial markets, labor disputes, or sudden changes in service-related industries. Think about it. If people are suddenly questioning what they value in a job,
They might quit abruptly or demand different conditions.
labor disputes.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It connects the personal feeling to a wider economic or social effect.
Precisely. The core theme driving all of it is this demand for authenticity. In love, in work, in what you spend your money on. It might cause chaos in the short term, but the transit suggests it's kind of a necessary chaos. You're being pushed to align with what truly satisfies you, even if it means letting go of what felt safe or predictable.
But that sounds scary. The source warns about negative reactions, like jealousy or trying to control things.
Right, because sudden change triggers fear of loss, fear of the unknown. So the ego might react defensively, trying to cling to the old ways, even if they weren't really working. That's the shadow side.
So the advice is?
Basically, embrace the shakeup. Be adaptable. Accept that maybe your old definitions of security or satisfaction were, well, maybe a bit off. This morning is about surrendering to needed change, even if it feels disruptive.
Okay, that's a lot for just the morning. Sounds pretty draining. Is there any relief, or does it just stay that intense?
Well, the energy shifts. It doesn't necessarily get easier, but it changes focus. That disruptive energy is followed by a longer-term theme that actually begins the same day, September 20th.
Which is?
Venus in Virgo. This lasts until mid-October. It's like after Uranus clears the decks, Virgo comes in to reorganize.
Virgo, so practical, detail-oriented service.
Exactly. If Venus square Uranus was about blowing up false values, Venus in Virgo is about rebuilding based on what's functional, helpful, and grounded. Love and devotion take on a very practical flavor.
So less about grand romantic gestures and more about?
More about showing you care through actions. Making coffee just right, keeping things tidy, helping someone streamline their schedule, focusing on health and well-being. It's love expressed as service, as usefulness. Very tangible.
Nurturing mind, body, spirit, but in a very down-to-earth way.
Right. Enhancing organization, improving routines. It's about making life work better together.
Right.
Devotion isn't a big declaration. It's in the consistent, small, helpful things. It's quite realistic about what relationships actually require day to day.
But the source mentions a downside too, right? That Virgo perfectionism.
Yes, the shadow side. Venus in Virgo can become overly critical. Because the standard is practical perfection, it can lead to nagging your partner about, how they do things, or feeling like you're not good enough yet to even start a relationship.
That shyness thing, yeah. Yeah. I need to optimize my life before I can date.
Exactly that. It's a fine line. The intention is to be helpful, to improve things, but it can easily curdle into criticism or anxiety.
Yeah.
You have to watch that the desire for improvement doesn't become a weapon against imperfection, yours or someone else's.
So the goal is good intentions and effort, not necessarily flawless execution, trying to avoid being a martyr or a micromanager.
You nailed it. And that brings us really neatly to the example story the source provides, the StoryScope about Leah and Daniel. It illustrates this exact dynamic.
Okay, tell me about them.
So Leah starts out kind of stuck in that more traditional Venus mode, expecting big, dramatic declarations of love, roses, poetry, the whole movie-style romance.
Right, the grand gestures we were talking about.
Yeah. But Daniel, he operates completely in that Venus and Virgo way. The source describes him like getting up early to grind the coffee beans perfectly, folding the laundry with care, making sure her notebooks are always lined up on her desk. Quiet acts.
And Leah didn't see that as love initially.
She was confused. She questioned if these small, practical things without any big spectacle were, enough. Because her definition of value was tied to the grand gesture, the visible display.
So what changed her perspective?
According to the story, she got really sick. And suddenly, all those grand gestures she might have wanted, totally useless. What mattered then?
The practical care.
Exactly. The source says it was the cool cloth on her head, the right kind of broth, the quiet patience of him just being there. That's when she had her aha moment.
Realizing that devotion was actually in these steady, quiet actions. The things that supported her mind, body, spirit without needing a spotlight.
Right. Embodied in action, steady and grounded, is how the source puts it. Reliable, functional care. That's Venus and Virgo.
But did the criticism thing pop up? Even then.
It did. And this is what makes the story so realistic. Even while appreciating his care, Leah apparently still found herself getting irritated, criticizing how he folded the towels, or that he forgot some specific tea she'd liked the week before.
Wow. So the perfectionist streak is hard to shake even when you recognize the love.
It shows how deep that Virgo shadow can run. The impulse to critique, to aim for perfect, doesn't just vanish.
So how did Daniel handle that?
Well, the story doesn't say he argued. Instead, he did something very Virgo-ship. He focused on organizing something else. He tidied her desk, stacked her papers neatly, put her favorite pen right there.
Oh, I like that.
And added a little sprig of lavender, just to create, as the source says, a calm space to write.
That's lovely. It's devotion hidden in the details.
Exactly. It's the steady function, the thoughtful organization, the quiet maintenance that helps manage life's chaos. That becomes the definition of value after the Uranus shock has passed.
Okay, so we've gone from personal chaos and authenticity through this shift to quiet, practical, detailed devotion. What happens next? You mentioned a reality check towards the evening.
Yeah, the focus kind of zooms out from the personal and the intimate right into the structural, the external world. We've sorted our internal values, maybe our relationships, focused on the details.
So now we look up and
according to the source, we run into issues with authority figures who are disoriented, irresponsible, or do not have good decision-making ability.
oof. Okay, so like dealing with bureaucracy, bad bosses,
Yeah.
ineffective leaders.
It seems to cover that whole range. Think systemic inefficiency, leadership that seems lost or out of touch, maybe rules or decisions that just don't make sense because they lack that grounded, logical Virgo quality we've just been cultivating personally.
So we're focused and detail-oriented, but the systems or people in charge are not. That sounds incredibly frustrating.
It is profoundly frustrating. And this frustration, this clash, seems to set the stage for the next morning, September 21st. The source flags that as a significant reality check.
Okay, what does that mean? Reality check how?
It sounds like the moment where your personal drive, your carefully laid plans, perhaps based on your newfound authentic values and practical approach, smack right into limitations imposed by these structures or authorities.
Like hitting a wall.
Pretty much. The conflict with these, let's say, disoriented authorities acts as a roadblock. If you were aiming for something big, the system might suddenly say no, or maybe just create confusing hurdles. Progress gets stalled.
So after all that work on personal authenticity and practical discipline, you just get blocked. That can make you pretty cynical. How are you supposed to respond?
Well, the advice isn't to give up, but it does demand patience. And more discipline, actually.
More discipline.
Yeah. The source suggests recognizing that some goals will simply require more discipline and patience than initially anticipated. The block forces you to refine your approach, your methodology, which is very Virgo, right, rather than necessarily abandoning the goal.
So the discipline you learned, folding the laundry or making the coffee, now you need that same meticulous patience to navigate a frustratingly inefficient system.
That seems to be the connection, yes. You use the internal order you've cultivated to deal with the external disorder.
Okay, let's try and synthesize this whole day then. September 20th sounds like a journey.
It really is. It starts with that Uranian shock, forcing radical honesty about what you truly value, even if it causes relationship or financial shakeups.
The authenticity blast.
Then, that raw authenticity needs a new way to express itself, which leads into Venus in Virgo, redefining love and value through practical, consistent, detailed acts of service, stripping away the ego.
The quiet devotion in the details.
And finally, you take that newfound personal clarity and meticulousness out into the world, only to find the external structures or authorities are kind of messy or incompetent.
Which demands even more patience and disciplined navigation, bringing that Virgo energy to bear on the system itself.
Exactly. It's a whole process from internal revolution to practical application to structural challenge. It demands you move away from needing big, flashy results or grand narratives.
So the focus shifts, maybe, to just maintaining those simple, practical acts of care and organization as the main source of stability, especially when the bigger structures feel unreliable.
That seems to be the core takeaway, finding value and effectiveness in the small, consistent efforts, because the larger systems might be temporarily stalled or confusing.
Which leaves us with a final thought, I suppose. If real value and devotion are found in those small, steady acts, the coffee grinding, the patient care, the organized desk, how does that change your definition of success when those big, ambitious goals get blocked by external limits or iffy authority figures?
Right. Does that intense need for patience force us to pivot entirely? Do we focus just on keeping our own small corner running smoothly, on those simple functional routines, trusting that is the work for now? Or is mastering that routine the very discipline required to eventually find a way through or around that external blockage? That's something to really mull over.